Welcome to Pull the Pin Radio, a place where average veterans come to share their opinions on the world we live in. We can't guarantee you're going to like our opinions.
But we promise we're going to enjoy giving them to you.
I'm Jim.
And I'm Mike. Let's pull the pin.
Boom. All right, Mike.
One of the topics you said you wanted to talk about in the previous show that I think we need to expound on. And I'm going to let you take lead on this one, okay? So the topic was why there's a racial divide in America and you're the cause of it. Go, Jim.
Exactly. So the reason it is because some people get mad because they can't grow hair. And I have hair and Mike doesn't. So obviously he takes out on his aggression on me and he calls this privilege. But actually it's just good genes. So really, what are we talking about, Mike?
Gut shot. I didn't expect you to take it at all, but that was a good one.
Wait, I'm going to leave it sit there? Come on.
Yeah, I know, right?
What do you really want to talk about?
Excuse me, sorry about that. Couldn't hit the mute. Why there's such a divide when we're talking about these? We have these topics in America, and you had alluded to, if you just change some of the one or two of the minor details, it's really no big difference.
Yeah, that was something it was something I was thinking about earlier because I was starting to, step back. You ever step back and like look at your own perspectives and beliefs from like above, and you just start realizing what you're arguing for. Like I thought
Right.
I brought up an example of like defunding the police. I'm pro law enforcement. Obviously, we were
Right.
cops, and I thought, here I am saying these people are, talking about cops are bad, this and that, they're this, oppressors, all this stuff. And then I turn around and I see the behaviors of our premier law enforcement agencies, the alphabet ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting here thinking like, well, what are these people doing? So I'm technically for defunding them, which are
Right.
actually our national police per se, or the corruption from any other part of it. But yet I'm not for defunding our local police. So in essence, it's very hard to have an argument when you realize the other side of the argument, just change a couple little factors, and yeah, you're on the same side as your opponent. So that was like a little epiphany I had, and bring it up into any other, category.
Right.
I mean, pick a problem right now that we're all against, and like talk about segregation we talked about.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we were talking about segregation by race. Well, I'm not for that, but we do have prisons, right? We're segregating people by behavior, right?
Right.
So you know what I mean? Like I say, you just change a couple details, and instantly you can almost have an argument on the other side of the argument.
Yeah, but I thought you were talking about more like one example you use is certain communities in New Jersey, how they're self-segregated, if you will. It's like
Sure.
you can go to a certain, and it's the same thing. Like not all of like Brooklyn, where I grew up back in my time. It was very diverse, but bodegas were every corner, and we all loved them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but I think it's more when the government tried, like this autonomous zone that they're trying to do in DC, right? When the government comes in and say, "Hey, this is going to be just for this group, choose a demographic," but in this case, we're talking about African American, right? So now another demographic is going to say, "Whoa, wait a minute, where's our zone? We would like to have our zone also, where we like to be free from the government." People have been trying to do that. It's called seceding from the government. You know what I mean? You got it. Y'all know.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
all two of you know what the hell I'm talking about.
The S word.
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. But a lot of people don't realize that a lot of states have been trying to do that so they can become autonomous, but not by race. It's just by geographical location.
Right. Well, see, that's what I'm saying is like that's just an example, but
Yeah.
at some point you just change a couple of the factors and you find yourself on the other side arguing the same point.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, even you talked about government. Like, I'm not for a big government. I don't support a lot of the things that governments do. Like, but then I can find myself, you change a couple factors, and yes, I do want the government to intervene in this stuff. I do want you know what I mean?
Right.
It, it's
You
just
know,
interesting.
yeah, and not to keep it on like separating by race or whatever, but it's like people don't believe in welfare. But then I remember I had this very good conversation with guys in Afghanistan. These guys are so against welfare, welfare, welfare. And I was like, what about farmers' aid? They get
Right,
aid for not growing or whatever. I think they should be able to grow and sell. If you grow 1,000 apples, that's you know what I mean, right? If you
right,
grow 1,000 apples and you're unable to sell half of it, hey, what does Paul always say? Let the market decide.
right.
Maybe you might want to cut your land and build something else there or grow something else there, things like that. So I think that's where a lot of people are when the government steps in. Like your communities, like you say, those are self-segregated. That's okay. That's what they want. It's thriving, maybe depends on who you
Hmm.
ask. But when it's government directed, that's when people have an issue because now they're just doing it for one group and not all groups. So
Sure.
they
What
don't
if
they don't believe in it. But if the government said, "Hey, Jim, you and yours can have this zone right here," now I believe in it. Okay, we'll go. You know what I mean?
right,
It's
right.
like you said, if you just change a couple of things, and that one thing in this case would be, "Oh, we're sorry, we didn't mean to offend you. You can have your own zone also." Now you believe in it.
Right. And
Yeah,
even supplement race with religion
yeah,
or
yeah,
with party affiliation.
yeah,
Now all of a sudden people, oh yeah, well, maybe we should have segregated parties. Like that's what I'm saying. I think it's really fascinating when I'm sitting and listening to these conversations, and I really could find myself on the other side of the conversation if you just change one or two different things.
yeah, yeah.
So
And
sometimes,
if it's something like, I'm gonna try to pick a different topic, but let's just leave it right there. Like you said, if you change just one or two, and it's not major, it's minor things you would change, and then you're
right.
like, wow, it is the same thing.
Well, take a topic like, my body, my choice,
Right.
right? So that's another example, like I just said, and it's used as a joke, right?
Hmm.
But think of that when you're talking about abortions,
Really?
then switch that over to vaccinations.
Yeah. Abortions, vaccinate. Don't wave to her. Don't encourage her.
You know what I'm saying? So when we're saying, okay, it's abortions, they shouldn't be legal, it's choices, you know.
He's waving at you. The only thing he's saying is, "Come on the show. Come on the show."
So
Did you hear what she said?
no.
Not today. My hair not combed.
Oh, but everybody can see that now. So
Yeah,
what's the big
everybody can see
difference?
it now.
So you get what I'm saying? So, but then you switch that to vaccine instead of abortion, and now all of a sudden, wait a minute, you're not going to force me to put something in my body or do with
Right.
my body.
Right.
So you
Right.
see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
sometimes I sit there and think like, am I arguing the same things, or are we just arguing for the hell of arguing?
Right. If you let, and I think we argue because I blame government for all of it. Simply put, I blame government for all. Because if Jim wants to have an abortion, who's the government to come in and say, no, no, you can't do that?
Right.
You get
And
what I'm
and
saying?
what's interesting about that too. Think about it. Think about it. If that were to work itself like those places in New Jersey, like the self-segregation, you would have communities where people don't believe in abortion.
Right.
So maybe then they could be like, well, I don't really feel comfortable here because these people don't support it. You don't need the government to say you can't do it.
Right.
You would just feel like an outcast.
Right. And you
And
can
then
say
you
the
probably
same thing
go,
with vaccines. Like if someone came
right,
up with a vaccine and then Jim developed a vaccine and said, hey, I have a vaccine for COVID. Government comes in, no, 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 you can't sell that. You can't sell that. Like, who are you? But look
right,
at what you're doing. And other people would support the government in their in them stopping you from selling this vaccine, right? Even though I trust you and I want to go get it, but then when the government does it, it's okay.
right.
Yeah. So it's like,
You know,
do you agree with the vaccinations? You know, being free
maybe
will, or I don't get it.
maybe you're not even talking. Maybe you're probably saying the government's too specific. Maybe it's just a third party. Anytime a third party is introduced to mediate what you get to do, like, for example, like even like a business, like an airline, like say an airline introduces a rule that says, oh, you can't travel this or that. And I know it's a little different because you can choose whether to use that airline or not. But
Right.
if all of the airlines did that, now you're kind of like, I either can fly or I have to drive.
Right.
You know, your choice are limited. You can't even use the technology. Imagine if your cell phone company did that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe when that is introduced, maybe that's the factor that makes the argument even happen. Like if you did so, you disagreed with me on something, go do what you do. Like if you want to, you know, you want your pronouns to be he, them, her, is, that, whatever, then you do you. You know, but when you're on this side and you're telling me, not necessarily you, but now all of a sudden the show requires it to do it. Now I'm like, wait a minute now.
Right.
You know, so maybe that's the third party because you're not going to tell me to do it. Because even if you did tell me, I'd just say you're crazy or leave me the hell alone.
Yeah, freedom of
But
speech.
when you get that third party in, then it feels like what you would commonly hear as oppression.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you almost feel like you're being forced because if you say no, now you're against the odds, not just against a person.
I agree, but do you do that when you before you really debate or even argue? Want to be arguing, you're not going to do it because there's emotions involved. But before you debate, do you just try to twist it a little bit to see if you're really against this or for this? Like
I'm not gonna lie, probably no.
You know.
Probably no. You know, I mean, probably no because I'm probably like most people. I probably put the emotion on it first, and then I look for the answers second. You know, if most of us step back and actually had an argument with ourselves, you know, this is where I think school comes into play. I hated school. I hated English. I mean, I wish they'd taught, you know, I wish I had paid more attention in these classes, but I didn't like them. But I think they do teach that stuff, you know, like critical thinking, which I don't think they do anymore. But where you do have to argue the other side, you do have to step back and look at the facts. Like, what are we even talking about?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even like when you say the abortion thing, like I'm not, you know, the argument is not whether you can tell somebody they can or cannot get an abortion. That's not the argument to me. The argument is I'm not paying for it. You're not using my money to pay for your, you know, mistake after you had a chance to avoid the mistake. I'm not paying for your mistakes. You know what I mean? Normally the way it works in society is you make the mistake, you pay for it. So I think if you step back and you look at like the facts of it, the factors, maybe that helps clarify a lot of this stuff. The emotion obviously confuses things too, but I'm not telling somebody they can't get an abortion. Right. You know, I could tell you I think it's wrong. Right. I think you're killing a human life. Now, you know, we get into debate, is that fall under the law or not? Like even for example, even if you didn't want an abortion,
but when you use that hypothetical there, when you start saying, well, is it against the law, whatever, now we're injecting that third party.
Right. Which means should there be a law?
Right.
Should there be a law? Like even for example, suicide. You know what I mean? Do I have an obligation to keep someone from harming themselves? I know as a law enforcement I did.
Yeah.
But as a citizen, do I? I mean, if you want to go out in the backyard and do something, you know, to yourself, like just no different than drugs and alcohol. Like, where do we draw the line?
Right.
If I don't want you to harm yourself, I wouldn't be letting you eat McDonald's all the time or, you know, smoking crack like you do. So where would I draw the line?
Crack.
Crack, maybe? Yeah. No, that's how you lay the line.
I get what you're saying because there's an obligation as law enforcement versus just a, you know, regular civilian. But I don't know. I'm definitely trying to find a way to disagree with you.
Well, I mean, we interject. Take, for example, what was his name? Dr. Kevorkian, right?
Yeah.
Remember the doctor was assisting with suicides?
Yeah.
Now, why is that our problem?
Especially if they sought his medical advice or his assistance or whatever, and they want.
Yes.
I don't know.
So that's what I'm saying. So I can argue, like, I know these are, we're not trying to debate these specific issues. I'm pointing in the fact that, like, how we just change a couple factors, and now all of a sudden it's like, why are we even involved in this conversation?
Right, right. Did you know that if a military person commits
Damage to government
suicide,
property.
huh? No, they
Damage to
get
government
charged. No,
property.
it's I think they changed it.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I don't know if they ever did damage to government property, but it was a murder.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
If they
I
call it
was like,
murder,
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was like, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I think that's what it was.
maybe it's in the elements there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
probably poorly defined.
yeah. And when I was working with CID, they did that to this one lieutenant. I was like, huh? They're like, yeah, we have to. I said, yeah, but he says it's an open and closed case. I was like,
Hmm.
wow, that's a good solve rate.
Yeah, we used to joke about that when anybody got hurt or something. That's what we tell them, we charge them with damage to government property.
Yeah, but I agree. We need to. Sometimes that's what I like to do, and I think it's because I seen it. I forgot the name of the movie. It's an old movie, but it was talking about a debate team, and she was doing so well talking about abortion. She was talking about she was against it or for it, whatever. And then the professor said, "Okay, now take the other side," and she just started rattling it off the other side, and I was like, "Wow." And that's when I started to try to see things from the other side, so I could, pretty much predict what's coming. You get what I'm
Right,
saying? And that changed my whole outlook on things. Like if Jim
right.
sits here and tells me, like the one thing I like to say about you is, I can't speak on being a single father, right? I can't speak on losing my spouse. I can't speak on that. But if you say something, and I'm like, oh, that just don't seem right, I would go and do research just to try to prove you wrong. You get what I'm
Sure,
saying?
but I can't speak for every single father either. I
Right,
can't speak for
right.
everyone who's
But it
lost their
depends on how
parents
you,
or
yeah,
wife either.
right. But it depends on how you were speaking. You get
So
what I'm
all I can
saying?
speak for is me and my experience, and
Right.
that's all we all can speak for.
But we don't.
No, we don't. Of course we
Right.
don't.
Yeah. How many times have you heard someone speaking, especially when it comes to politics, that, oh, they do this, they do that? Well, have you ever talked to a Republican? I ain't talking to
Right,
them. Oh, so your only experience is based off of what you just saw these days, YouTube, from a vlogger, from the Hannity or whoever. That's
right.
your only experience on actually sitting down and talking to people. Because if you and I really, and we do it all the time, sit down, we know in the grand scheme of things, they're gonna do what they do, those politicians. But
Hmm.
right here with the boots on the ground, we worry about those local politicians more, those HOA type things. Had to throw that
Don't get
in
me
there.
started. Don't get me
Yeah.
started.
Hey,
You should have seen you.
Next time Alicia's on, ask her how she feels about HOAs.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You should have seen. There's a big drama in our HOA, and they put out this big letter, and I was just like laughing at it.
Mm.
But I did also run into a guy who is his whole business is around helping HOAs something or other. I don't know. I was like, I'm going to talk to him later, but I'm going to direct him to my HOA. But I forgot what I was completely talking about. What were we talking about? You
Oh,
see, you
sorry
did
about
that
that.
very effectively.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about that.
We
Oh,
were
we're
talking.
talking about how you have a difference of opinion, and what I was really talking about was how we don't try to see things from the other side.
Well, right. And I think the first question, and I try to do it to myself, and sometimes, people do it to me, then, you know, unnamed people who've been on the show before have done it to me, have said, like, well, how does that affect you? You know what I mean? Like, before you take up an
Mm-hmm.
argument, how does that affect you?
Mm.
And I don't know if you can clearly say that nothing affects you, because I think in some sense there is residual effects that you can justify anything to affect
Mm-hmm.
you, but yet you can't prove them yet. So the question to me would be potential versus actual. Actually, what's happening in the moment versus what could happen. So when you take an argument like even abortion, right? Okay, even if it's killing a baby, even if you take the side that it is killing a baby, how does that affect you?
Yeah, but it's not about me. It's about our
But I'm just
society.
saying, I'm just
Right, right,
I'm
right.
just saying, if you're taking it from the woman's perspective who's having the abortion, and I did say women because women are the only ones who can have children.
Mm-hmm.
If you're taking it from her perspective, how does it affect her? You know what I mean? Like, she can speak on how that affects me, but how does it affect me as a man? Now, if I'm the father of that child, I can speak on behalf of that.
Right.
Well, you have now deprived me of a life I've helped create.
Right.
You know, I can speak on behalf of that. But if I'm just, you know, a Christian man who says, you know, abortion's a sin, how does it affect me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yet I still might argue against abortion, how I think it's wrong. I'd put my opinion in there. I'd make my case, whatever. But in reality, how does it affect me?
It doesn't.
It really doesn't.
Right.
So I really shouldn't really have to argue it. And it's the same thing with suicide. Now, if my children saw it, it might affect my kids if they saw you, you know, committing suicide or whatever. You know what I mean? That's when it would affect me.
Right.
But in the grand scheme of things, if you did something in your own home or whatever, how does it affect me?
I agree.
And why would I need to argue that? But that's what I'm saying. It was just the reality that I was sitting there just trying to step back because I started to see too many arguments that I was like, wait a minute, didn't we just argue the opposite side with different factors? You know what I mean? I tried to see, like, you know, and the hypocrisy's part of it. You know, like when you see the Democrats on the plane, no masks, and, you know what I mean? All the hypocrisy, that's kind of obvious to me. But I wanted to dig a little deeper into the real arguments, not the blatant hypocrisy, because that's pretty stupid. Now, I don't know why people listen to these people anymore anyway, because I thought it was really interesting. They all showed up and ran away from Texas and then passed the COVID around. In proximity to Kamala Harris.
Allegedly.
Oh, they didn't do that? I think there's like 6 or 7 of them now.
I just said allegedly. That's all I said. I didn't say they didn't. I just said allegedly.
Oh, but allegedly means you don't know if it's true.
That's right. I don't know.
So you don't know if it's true. I guess I don't know if it's true either. I have to trust somebody. Yeah. I have to trust somebody who says it's true.
That's right.
And who do you trust?
No, not that guy. That was good timing.
I was actually scratching my head.
I know.
But who do you trust?
I trust me.
Well, what I'm saying is if you get a piece of information and it does affect you, or it may affect you, who do you trust?
I trust me.
Yeah, and you've got to verify that. So you've got to go somewhere to verify that.
Yeah, multiple sources.
And those would be...
I don't know.
Wherever it came from, right?
Yeah, wherever it came from, right. But I don't have just one source to say, "Oh, Jim said it. It's true." Nah, I just can't.
Jim would be the first source first, right? You'd have to say, "Well, Jim, did you know this? Did you witness this? Did you see this? Or are you just reading this from somewhere else?"
Right.
So you could drill back down to the person who reported it, like in the old days when the whole Trump thing was going on. I heard it from this guy, I heard it from this guy, I heard it from this guy. You don't even go ask the guy who said it. Like the whole investigation was founded or started on the 4th guy.
Yeah.
Like, why would you even think that makes any sense?
Because I don't like Trump.
Right. Well, of course.
There you go.
Yeah. So, but you understand what I was pondering here with this whole thought thing? How sometimes I started to realize I was almost arguing the same thing that I was arguing against with different factors.
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, I mean, here, we're going to keep doing it here because that's what this show is all about.
Right.
But if you're seriously losing friends and family over things like a vaccine, whether you should get it or not, you need to stop and think about that one.
Right.
I mean, you really need to stop and think, why would I be arguing that you need to get the vaccine and then defending when you tell me what I can do with my body or not if I want an abortion? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and I know the factors may change a little bit of the argument because it is about the details, right? So it is a little bit different. But when you strip all the details back, aren't you talking about personal choice?
Yep.
So,
that's it.
So when you catch people
arguing, to have that?
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Right. But then they'll bring in the well, now you're hurting other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, well, where's the proof for that?
Right.
How am I hurting other people? How does this affect you if I'm not vaccinated?
Right.
You know what I mean? It goes back to
Yeah.
those same questions. And I don't know why people aren't asking more of those. You know, myself included. Maybe I'll have different arguments on here. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be the day. Yeah. You ready to pull the pin?
Yeah, let's pull the pin on this one.
Okay.
Just some thoughts to think about. So,
Yeah.
what do you got something you want to shout out? Pull the pin.
Yeah. I have something I want to shout out. I want to give a huge shout out to the person of the week. That's Melanie, and Paul and the family. She's a trooper. I know she pulled through. They're going through something right now, but I know she's gonna pull through. She's a warrior. I'm not gonna say a soldier. She's a warrior, and just watching her do her thing is what she's going through or what she went through today was a small thing because she's a giant. So stay strong, young lady. You got your family, extended family, in your corner. All right. Much love.
Yes.
And tell your
And
father that they get on the show.
And our thoughts and prayers go out to you for the things you can't cover. We will ask for the mighty
right.
power. So I want to.
Oh God. Normally, when you start out like that, it's bathroom again. Normally, I'm just saying.
No, I'm not going to the bathroom. I'm going back to this estate debacle. I am so sick of money and death, man. I'm just so sick of the government capitalizing on death. I'm just so sick of it. If you, in case you haven't know, anyone out there doesn't know, I recently lost my dad, and my mom 9 months prior to my dad. And unfortunately, I didn't have the privilege of doing my mother's estate, so some things got left undone. And as I'm doing my father's estate, I'm discovering these undone things. And the whole stupidity of the system is that in order for me to find out information, I need to be in charge of my mother's estate. Now, mind you, my mother predeceased my father. Therefore, all of her estate went to my father, who I am now the administrator of his estate. But because it's his estate, I can't get information on her estate without having to go this ridiculous circle of information. You go to the state of New Jersey, and they want information from the people that I'm having this issue with, but those people want proof from the state that I can talk about the information from the... It's a ridiculous circle. It's unbelievable. And I'm sure somewhere along the line, it's designed to protect my family or me. I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
But I think when you lose a loved one, this is the last thing you want to be going through. All of this nonsense. Maybe they can gear it a little bit smarter or wiser. I don't know. But I'm done. And the problem with it is, Mike, it's not that it's what it has to be done. It's that in order for me to get information, I spoke about this before, if I wanted to get my father's balances to become an admin, I had to file and pay for a form to take to the bank so that they can tell me what his balance is, so that I can submit the form to become the admin of his estate. So they get you twice.
Wow.
Because they want you to pay for each form. It's just the money. Stop the money stuff. Stop it. I mean, just cut out the garbage. Give the form. If you know you're going to take over the state, you know somebody's going to file the forms. They got to pay for the forms. Give them the other form for free. Anyways, I'm done with all this nonsense and death. So nobody die because it's a pain in the butt. That was just me venting a little bit.
Yeah, I don't remember being what do you say, administrator, admin, whatever, of my mom's estate, but it was something similar. But we didn't. All we did was take a death certificate to the bank.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, wow, and that's in New York.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe how long ago that was. I don't know.
No, I'm just saying that was right next door in New York.
Well, there's different too. If your mom had a will, and you're the executor.
No.
No will.
No.
Wow. Well, New Jersey's
you
probably
know
more
what?
corrupt.
I think she did put our name on the bank account.
If you're the beneficiary, all you got to do is prove she's dead.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. If you're not, then all the estate goes to the state. and then the state decide where it goes. And they're the ones that have to pick the administrator. So get a will out there. I don't care who you are or what shape you're in or where you're get a will, because you're going to screw the people left behind. And if that's what you want to do, then don't get a will. But get a will. That's it.
Screw the people left behind.
Yes. Look, even if you don't want to, that is all the time we have for this episode. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed what we had to say. We hope you come tune in again. If you're a veteran, get on the show. And until then, Godspeed.
Hey, and pull the pin.
Thanks for joining us here. Pull the pin already. We hope you had as much fun as we did. If you like what we do, go ahead and hit that like button and share this video with a friend. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button so you don't miss out on any of our future episodes. But most importantly, leave a comment below. Let us know if you agree or disagree with our opinions. Hope to see you here next time on Pull the Pin Already.